Hello, so excited for another episode of One Starfish, and where our mission is to help people one at a time to change their life. And the lady I have on today, she and I have been friends for quite a few years actually. And I still remember the first coffee shop meeting with Myla. She's absolutely incredible. You follow this lady, like she's always smiling, she's always happy. And she's a mindset and leadership coach in Alberta, Canada. So that's always good too. We're both in the cold country doing this recording right now. And predominantly though, this is really neat. She's a mother. That's her predominant focus. She's got 4 girls and she's an amazing mother. And now she's doing this coaching and helping mainly females become balanced. She says there's not much balance. So let's get into things. Myla, tell us a little bit about like what got you passionate about getting into mindset leadership coaching and specifically helping women achieve that balance that really doesn't exist.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. I am so honored to be on your new podcast, and I just love the title and I love everything about you. And I do remember that first coffee shop meeting we had. that feels like yesterday, but yeah, it was a few years ago now. And I'm always so grateful for you in my feed, for your energy too. So thank you, and I appreciate the invite here. Okay. So how I became a mindset and leadership coach. To be honest, I just always have been like kind of sort of that big cheerleader, and kind of big. I'm an encourager. I'm just generally positive, and I like helping other people feel that way. So I decided to stay home with my children after working for about 15 years in marketing and communication because I didn't want other people to raise my children. But after a while, I thought, I want to do something for myself. I have 4 girls. So after the 4th, I was like, okay, it's time to kind of focus on me again. And I told my husband that I just love making people feel awesome. So I know it sounded really simple, but it felt like, that's what I needed to do. So in search of something something along those lines, I came across Bob Proctor, and you know Bob well, and yep. He's my mentor, and I became a Proctor Gallagher consultant, and it just kind of went from there. And as you said, there's so many women out there looking for the balance, right? Mm-hmm. Like the work-life balance. And I'm here to tell you, it's a myth. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. This search for an external balance is what literally drives us all crazy, right? Because the truth is, there's no search that needs to happen. There's no like looking and chasing and any of that. It's not out there. The balance you're looking for is in here, right? Mm-hmm. The balance that you're searching for is actually internal. And so I help women establish that inner balance. So no matter how chaotic the external factors are, they're able to go within to find that inner balance. And that's kind of what anchors them, and that's where they find, peace and authentic joy. And I like to say, authentic, because sometimes things bring us joy, but it's only for the moment, right? Mm-hmm. But if it's something that you find within you, and you have brought it for you because you have learned how to love yourself, then it's something that's sustainable and something that is raw and real and can help you through this crazy life that we're living, right?
That's so good. And what's a tip that you would, I guess, give, like, because there are a lot of women, I'm sure, that are going to be listening to this. Of course, there'll be guys too. And, but like that are looking for that quote balance. You said it's inside you that, we hear this stuff. What's something that helps a person, I guess, for a starter? And by the way, guys, reach out if you have any coaching ideas or tips or whatever that you're looking for. This lady is amazing. But what are some things that you would say to someone, or what's one thing that you would say to someone that's like, how do I look inside? And when I look inside, maybe it's not so pretty what I see inside. So maybe I don't want to go there. What do you kind of say in those situations?
Yeah. And it's so true. You're so right. It is definitely kind of an adventure. and I can say that because, not only not only am I teaching this material and working with my clients, I'm also doing it for myself, right? Because I love this saying is you can't give what you don't got, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm not doing the work, then how am I going to help people to my best ability? So it is a rocky journey, for the lack of a better term. It has its up and downs. It's kind of like a roller coaster. But here's the deal. The things, and you're going to resonate with this, I'm sure, but the things that you believe about yourself, most of the times, if it's a negative idea, it's not yours.
Hmm.
Okay. If it's a negative idea that you believe about you, like for example, because I'm a mindset and leadership coach, a lot of people say, I'm not a good leader. I'm not a good leader. And I'm like, well, why do you think that? And if you really dig deep and look at the root source, it's something that happened in your childhood
Hmm.
that maybe someone said to you. Maybe a parent said something to you, or a teacher, or something happened in school, right? And that caused you to think that you're not a good leader. And then you go on to tell yourself this lie all your life, and you believe it. And then it causes you to, in your adulthood, believe the same idea. And it's not really established on your own,
Hmm.
right? So as you know, Bob is huge on paradigm shifting, right?
Right.
And what is that? For some of you, you're like, what is that? Well, a paradigm is a multitude of habits and beliefs. So it's a whole whackload, a whole set of habits and beliefs that you have, and most of them are established not on your own.
Hmm.
Right? Because when you came into this world, you had your parents or the people who raised you, your community, your school, your church, the society, gender roles, culture. All these things help you establish your beliefs. So they may not be yours. So when you start doing you know, looking inside, instead of searching out here, but going in here, you're it's like Angela said, it's gonna be maybe not so pretty. But remember that these are not necessarily beliefs that you created about yourself.
Your
Okay.
beliefs you come from outside yourself, like you said, from your
Yeah.
paradigm, which it took me a long time to figure out what a paradigm meant. It was funny.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kept hearing the word and I'm like, what exactly is it? So yeah, exactly
Oh,
what Myla said.
I hear you. Yeah, it's not a word that is common, right? And if you've heard it, you probably don't even know what, you haven't even really thought about what it means. But it's really important to understand that these habits that you have, okay, the habits that you have determine your doing, right? And 96%, here's a number. I'm not a numbers person like you, but here's a number that shocked me when I first heard it. 96% of what you do is habitual.
That's a lot.
96%. So you're not thinking 96% of the time, because a habit is something you don't think about, right? You just do it. So when you really sit down and be like, 96% of what I do is habitual, that's including the way you think, right? The way you
Right.
think about yourself. And so it's really important to understand that you may be consciously aware of something, but 96% of the time you're just doing it automatically, right? But the good news is that these habits and beliefs that have been established that are not net positive or that are not true, you have the ability to shift that, right? That's the shift part of the paradigm. You have the ability to shift and change your belief. You don't have to believe it. So, like, for example, back to I'm not a leader, you can be like, cancel. If you're going to hop on the cancel culture, this is the cancel culture to hop onto. Cancel all the negative beliefs about yourself, right? So,
That's so good. I love that.
yeah.
What kind of switching gears a little bit, because I know your passion is your family, which I think is incredible. And for a lot of women, including sometimes myself, I don't have kids, but we feel very commonly feel guilty if maybe we're not putting in all the effort into our business or all the effort into our family,
Right.
or all the effort everywhere all the time. How do you personally kind of work? I know you do a lot of inside work, but what are some things that you do, I guess, that are really
Right.
helpful to keep you centered in focusing on what you want to focus on, not what people around you are trying to tell you you should probably be like?
Right. Um, that is so true. You know, there's a few things, but I have to say the first thing for me is to connect to my higher power. Okay, that's for me. And I call my higher power God. And everybody has different people have different names for it. But whatever it is, now is the time to really plug into that source. To be honest, you know, when we're going through this life, and as you know, there's a lot of things that are like, I don't even know. I don't even know what's next, right? You know, change is the only constant we have right now. And so to be grounded for me, and I need to plug into my source, my higher power. That is number one. Okay. And then, like, you know, physical doing, like you said, I do a lot of inner work for sure, but you have to also just be clear, be super clear about your goal. You know, what is your goal? Like, you really have to be super clear, because if you don't have those that coordinate plugged in, like, you know, it's like a GPS, because life is, you know, we're going on a journey. If you don't have that plugged in, you're gonna just be like going around in circles, right? You know, when you ask someone like, where are you going? Well, I'm headed west. Like, if you just keep going west, you end up in a circle, right?
Yeah.
So what is your goal? Like, that is the one, you know, plug into your source, clarify your goal, and then, because there is no external balance, right? You have to be really focused on spending your activities wisely. Like, where are you spending your activities? Because there is like this myth about time management. You cannot manage time, right? There's 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
And you know, some very prominent people, right, who are very successful, they also have 24 hours just like anybody else. So why are some people super successful and some not? And it's not because they're managing time. Time is just going. It's because their activities are well managed, right? So where are you, what activities are you spending your time on, right? And managing these activities is really going to help you be more efficient and be more effective, right? And it will eliminate or alleviate that mom guilt, right? Because you know you've spent the time on your work. So now you can spend focused time on your children or your family or whatever it is that you want to spend time on, without feeling guilty that you didn't spend time in work, or vice versa, right? So I mean, there's a few other tools, Angela, but I really think those are key. And another thing that I do want to mention is just being really, and I know this seems overdone and just really, you know, everybody's talking about it, so to speak, but you just have to be really grateful for what you do have, right? Because the fact is, our minds can only focus on one thing at a time. And so if you focus on the good in your life and what is going well, you're actually going to get more of that.
Right? Like a magnet.
Yes, because one of the sayings that I love is where your focus, where your energy goes, your focus flows. Okay, so what are you focusing on? What are you focusing your energy on? That's what's going to grow. So you know, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. If you're focusing on it, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So why not use that energy to focus on what is good in your life, what is going well, the blessings that are coming, you know, and that's what's going to magnify, right?
That's so good. Do you, I'm curious, like I said, especially right now, we're doing this, so we got a thing going on around us, a world pandemic or whatever it is. And so a lot of people are struggling with a lot of different stuff. And so when do you write down like things you're grateful for? I'm curious, every day, or do you personally meditate every day? Do you do stuff like that? Just kind of curious.
Right. Yeah, so it's different for everybody, right? Not everything works the same for everyone. So you find what works for you, right? Because I am, you know, surrounded by my 4 children. I'm like, wow, see, 4.
Yeah.
Okay,
4.
just make sure you got that. And I know there's people with more. I kudos to people with more, because 4 is a lot. but it's got full household, full, and they're all girls.
And a husband, you got to throw him in there too.
And a husband, right?
So, yeah.
And a husband, oh, and a dog and a couple cats. So, so sometimes it's not, you really have to make intentional time. I have to make intentional time to be awake earlier, or intentional time for myself. But what I like to do is we do it together, right? We do it together. So on the way to school, well, we have a 10-minute ride. It's just perfect to go around the circle and ask each one, like, what are you grateful for this morning? Right? And sometimes they'll say the same thing over, but sometimes I'll prompt them and be like, think of something different. But it just gets our focus on something good. And then we do actually an affirmation. And we take turns. Each girl takes a day, and we all take turns to lead out in this affirmation. Now, if you don't know what an affirmation is, it's just getting a negative idea and turning it into a positive idea. So back to our leader example, if you're like, I'm not a good leader, an affirmation, a positive affirmation would be, I am a confident leader. Okay. So we do these I am statements after our gratitude. So the kids might say, like, I am strong, I am kind, I am loving, and we just go around and do that. And then I started putting on a really hype song, like with really good lyrics. I have a little playlist, and we'll just play that. And so as we, arrive to school, we're kind of in like a really raise the vibe. We raise the vibe, and they get this song that's with positive lyrics playing in their head all day long, right? Because so cool. Repetition is key, right? So this is kind of a habit that I've created for my children that is positive. And the affirmation, sometimes to be honest, sometimes they don't want to do it. Okay, let's be real. Yep. Sometimes they just don't want to do it. But listen, I watched one of my girls. She fell down. She's my youngest. She fell down and she stood up, picked herself up, and she started saying the affirmation. She's like, I am brave. I am strong. Wow. I am safe. So it just got me feeling so good, because I'm like, okay, that is sort of, the narrative that's playing in her mind. And I'm okay with that, right? Like
that is so cool.
It is. And I just was like, yes, it's working.
And that's our next generation. And, for anyone listening, if you do have kids, this stuff is so powerful to make sure that your kids are getting this stuff in their head at the young age, so that their paradigm, as we talked about, is different than maybe ours was, because our parents maybe didn't do that, and our parents weren't bad necessarily or anything like that, but they just didn't know some of this stuff. So it's so neat that you're shaping the next generation, because that's the generation going to look after us when we're old. So absolutely. It's great to know they're going to be telling me I ams when I'm in a wheelchair maybe, or whatever. They'll be like, you are strong. Tell yourself this.
That's right. Let me tell you, I have to, and I don't know if anybody can relate to this, but parenting is by far one of the hardest things I've ever done. Now, I have lived, my background is I'm a missionary kid. I've lived in 7 different countries, including the Middle East, and Russia and Africa. And I've done a few crazy, hard things, but parenting will test you any day. Okay. But it is such a big gift and responsibility, but a gift because you are helping shape our future, right? These are our leaders, right? And so one of the things that I'd like you to cancel, if you're one of these moms that say, I'm a hot mess, cancel that because your children are listening to you. If that's the language coming out of your mouth, that's what's playing in their mind about themselves. Like, I'm a hot mess. And do you want that for our future? A hot mess of a doctor or a manager or leader, whatever. It's not really, what we would like to put out, right? So just think about your impact. It's so great. Your impact is so great. And yes, it feels like a mountain, but one step at a time, and don't beat yourself up for what you didn't know until you heard it today. So because good. you that's right. You can't, like you said, our parents were just learning. We're just learning. there's no handbook for doing the things, here.
Doing
No, there's
life.
nothing. There's nothing, right? So don't beat yourself up for what you were not aware of. Now that you know, just take that first step in asking yourself, the biggest question is like, what do I really want? Right? What do I want in this life? What is the legacy that I want to leave? How do I want to impact others? You know, ask these questions, ask good questions. The quality of your questions determine the quality of your life.
Mm. Yes.
Right?
So
don't
good.
play
Touching on that,
right.
Touching on that, I remember hearing I read somewhere about that, like your kids, the hot mess part, your kids, and I said this to my mom actually, your kids, and it is nice now, our grandkids, they watch you and they think you're the most beautiful person in the world because you're their mom.
Yeah.
And you think back to what you think of your mom, and like I think of my mom, and she's the most beautiful person in the world to me. And you have that feeling as a child too, especially as a child. And then you hear that most beautiful person in the world look in the mirror and go, oh, I'm getting old and got some wrinkles. And you're like, well, if she's getting old and not looking pretty and she's not happy, how am I supposed to be happy? Because that's my mom and she's the most beautiful person in the world. And if she's not beautiful, then I'm definitely not beautiful.
Right,
and
right.
You can tell your kids till they're blue in the face, hey, you're the most beautiful person, but it's so right. And hope people get this, like that are listening, like what you say is more impactful than what you tell them. So what they hear you say is just like, oh man, it's so powerful. I'm glad you touched on that, Myla.
Well, yeah, and even deeper, Angela, is what you do. Right? Aligning what you do with what you say. So like poof, putting that on the same level or the same frequency. Like if you want to listen to the AM station, you're not going to go to the FM, and vice versa, right? You got to be in the same radio station. So if you're telling your kids like, hey, you're amazing, you're beautiful, you're great, you better be telling yourself the same thing, right? Because like kids are so freaking like, they're lie detectors. They're really good. they can call you out, okay, in a second. So if your vibe is not aligned with your words, they're gonna call you out, and really truly they're gonna do what they're gonna do what you do more than what you say. This is the shocking part of parenting. It's like, whoa, where'd you get that? Well, who taught you that? And you're like, ugh.
I did.
You did, right? I heard you, I saw you do it, or I heard you say it, or whatever. So, just really be your best cheerleader, right? And I know it's going to be challenging because for some reason, it's much easier to be down on ourselves than it is to hype ourselves up, right? But just one at a time, one phrase at a time, one day at a time. And if you like writing, it's great. Write these affirmations out. Write out the person that you want to be. Write out your goal. Make things visible. If you turn the camera, my wall is full of Post-it notes because I like to see these positive affirmations. I like to remind myself that way. So do what works for you. Meditation works for some. For me, I fall asleep, to be honest. Right. But I love to dance and I love music, right? And that infuses my entire being and it just makes me feel alive, right? So what is it that just lights you up? What is it that lights you up, that gives you that, I'm alive feeling in a positive way? And do that, right? Do that. We're not all the same. Nobody actually is the same. So another thing that I want to touch on, and you had said this earlier, is just don't compare yourself to anybody else. Stop that game. That's the most foolish game. Don't compare yourself to anybody else, because that will stop you in your tracks every time, and it will just put you in a place that you don't want to be. So, social media makes it sometimes challenging not to compare, but be aware of that fact. right? If you're aware of it, then you can stop it, right? Because you are different, you are unique, you are your own person, and you're going to do things differently than everybody else, right? And if you own that, if you own your uniqueness and your story, right, and let that shine, you can't go wrong, because you are the creator of your life, right? Not anybody else that you're comparing yourself to. And you know what, Angela, this is the one thing that I've just really admired about you, is you've totally done that. You're shining in your story, and you share that with the world, and it's like, can't go wrong, because it's your story and it's super inspiring, and you're changing lives. So again, thank you.
I got you. I'm so glad we met. So in wrapping up, I have 3 final questions I like to ask.
Sure.
So number 1 is, if you know someone that's looking for their purpose, because a lot of people they're like, I don't even know what my purpose really is. What's
Right.
one sentence you could give someone to kind of, I know it takes more than that to find your purpose, but what's one sentence you could give someone to start down that journey of finding their purpose?
Well, the one question that I like to ask is, how do you want to be of service to others? Because if you look around, and everybody's here to serve someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? It doesn't matter what your profession is or your occupation is, you're serving someone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what is it that, again, just lights you up when you are serving other people? How do you want to serve? And when you ask yourself that question, it will lead you, towards that purpose, that you feel is yours, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is such a simple question, but such a great
Simple.
question.
Yeah.
I love it. That's so cool. What is it that lights you up to serve others? There's a great question. Yeah. Number 2 question is, what is your favorite quote and why?
What is my favorite quote? Oh my goodness. There's so many, to be honest.
I'm
but
sure.
Yeah, there's so many. But I just really think it's so powerful. The quote that I mentioned earlier, where your energy goes, where your focus goes, your energy flows. Mm-hmm. So we're at whatever, I'm really just learning in the last few years about how powerful your energy is. Okay, because everything around you is energetic. Everything's energy. It's not woo-woo, everybody who is like, what is she going into now? It's for real. Just think about it. If you just put your hands, like hover it above your lap, you will feel movement and heat, right? So there's energy like everywhere. Even if you don't think you're moving, there's still energy. So your energy is so important, so valuable. So where your energy goes, that's where you're going to automatically focus everything, right? So if your energy is like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? Why, blah, 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 poor me. Well, yeah, that's where you're going to go. And that's what's going to grow, right? But if you're like, I'm so grateful I have this, and I have a warm home, and I have this great friend, even though it's just one friend, but it's a great friend, whatever you focus on, that's gonna grow, and you're gonna find more good things are gonna come. So where your focus goes, your energy flows.
I love that. That's a great quote. And final question is, what's one word or sentence that you want on your gravestone?
Oh, wow, that's a good one. Yeah. That's interesting. I've not ever thought of that, but I have to say, this popped into my mind when you said that, is she believed.
That's a good one.
And had faith.
She believed and had faith.
Yeah.
Man, that's powerful. I love it.
Yeah. I just got goosebumps. I have never thought of this question. It's a good question, but that is the thing that popped into my mind right away.
That's so cool, Myla. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, this is just touching on it. Please reach out to this amazing lady. I will have her Instagram handle and all that stuff in the notes for sure. And remember, guys, today, just go change one life. Today, just make a difference for one person, and you never know where that ripple effect will lead. Have an awesome one. Thanks so much, Myla.
Thank you.